Hey there, I'm Consequence of Sound film editor Dominic Suzanne Mayer, host of Filmography, a filmmakers podcast. Every quarter, I spotlight a different visionary director and team up with a rotating panel of guests for a comprehensive dive into that director's body of work. From style to performance to the little things you might not have caught on a first, second, or third viewing, Filmography turns the lens around for a closer look at the greatest visionaries of the silver screen. Find us at Consequence of Sound, iTunes, or wherever you procure fine podcasts.
Consequence Podcast Network.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith With. It's an audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Go ahead and take a moment right now to hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to so you can keep up with these interviews. I'm Kyle Meredith, and today my guest is Jake from the band Hippo Campus. Their newest record is called Bambi, and we're going to talk about its bigger sound, also their really consistent output, one album and EP after another seemingly every year, and how individual writing from all of the band members has been a part of that. We'll also discuss mental health and Jake dealing with depression and anxiety and what's going to happen to the songs that were left over from these sessions. It's Kyle Meredith with Hippo Campus.
Hi, Kyle. How you doing?
Man, I heard these two new songs that have come out so far, and they just blew me away. Like, I've been a fan of you guys for the past record and EPs, but this seems like next level stuff here. This seems like something completely different. Does it feel that way to you?
Yeah, man. It does. We sort of went into this record and wanted to take a different approach than we had done in the past in terms of songwriting. So in the past, we had always kind of written songs in the room all together, kind of jam-based. And with this new record, we decided to each kind of bring in our own songs, record them and demo them out on our own, and then bring them to the group and work on them. So I think it allowed us to make the songs more complex and also more personal.
What did you find out about each other as far as, you know, in that style, writing individually, if there was anything?
I think it allowed us to play to each of our individual strengths for sure, but it also showed us, you know, what the other members could bring once that full song is brought in. Yeah, I think it just defined each of our voices in the band, and it also gave the record just many different colors.
When you're doing that, I mean, it has that potential for lots of different styles. Is there a way that you try to bring those in as a cohesive piece, or do you let them, you know, settle as they fall?
The priority has always been the records for us in terms of flow and being cohesive, as opposed to songs. So there were definitely a lot of songs that didn't make the record purely because they just didn't fit the vibe of the songs that seemed to be working out. So we have a bunch of songs left over right now as well.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I feel like we should probably expect another EP within a year's time, because it seems to be the trajectory you guys stay on.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, we're definitely trying to get more music out, whether it's an EP or an album this year, hopefully. I think the industry's moving, you know, quickly these days, and we're writing quickly, so.
I mean, yeah, the whole idea, the concept of the 2 to 3 year period between, I mean, you guys completely brushed that aside, because I mean, this new record, it's on the heels of an EP that came out late last year, and the whole record that came out earlier last year. It seems to me like, how in the hell did you all find time to even write?
Yeah, man, it's whenever we get gaps. I think, again, writing individually helped a lot, because the way we used to work, we'd have to be in a room, and you'd spend 7 or 8 hours trying to write this song in a way that everyone was happy with it. But when you're working on your own, you don't have to compromise. You could just kind of follow your own intuition. And with all 4 of us working individually, there's way more songs that came forward.
And about, you know, the sound, I mean, these 2 songs are different than what we're used to. I mean, you know, you're there, we can hear you there, but there's different sonic textures to go along with it. Is there a push? Because, you know, critics can say, oh, you sound like this band, or you've got this sound and everything, and you've made it a habit of kind of, you know, doing an about face with every new release. Is that sort of purpose to challenge your audience with every new time outs?
I think it's more to challenge ourselves to keep creating something fresh. I think with each record we make, we find something new out about ourselves in terms of where we want to take the sound of the direction. Like immediately when Landmark was done, I was like, oh, I like these things that Landmark had, and I really want to capitalize on those moments for what we do next. And it's the same with this record. You know, there's moments where I'm like, okay, I want to capitalize on that exact thing on the next record. And then we just kind of hope the fans will come with us.
Well, I mean, you take a song like Bambi. I mean, this song is insanely catchy. But, you know, that is the first time I heard it. It's like, oh, cool, this is sort of more of an electronic thing for them. You know, I don't know if having these new sounds, does it change also how you're playing live when you put these new textures in there?
Yeah, we've been working for the past week on learning all the songs live again. It's been interesting. I think that we want to keep the live show a different thing. We sort of did that with Landmark too, where the version that we played were different than the album versions. And I think with this, it's a similar thing. Where the versions will be different. There are electronic elements, like we're incorporating like a drum pad. We have DeCarlo out with us. Playing trumpet and some like aux percussion and some other triggers. So we're definitely integrating it in, but it's still, the songs are all way more higher energy live. Like we'll write different endings or different parts that kind of keep it interesting and high energy. So that's what at least I want when I go to a show.
It's sort of in contrast to, you know, when I look at the album titles on this, and I understand you might be having to speak for other bandmates on this, but there's instantly sort of an idea or a concept or a thread or whatever you want to call it just on the titles alone, because we're looking at mistakes, anxious, doubt, and why even try. You know,
Nice. I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious.
You know, I've heard you talk about, or heard one of you all talk about at least with Bambi, you know, that there is the concept of mental health that goes along with this and masculinity. And it does seem like just by looking at those titles that maybe more of that kind of lies within the album as well. Yeah,
absolutely. I think for each song, we had this original idea to have each song be like a different emotion or feeling. Something I felt that was lacking with Landmark was just that ability to emote and have it come across on a recording. I think we got very into perfection with that record just because we had so much time in the studio to record it. We spent probably like almost a year and a half on it. With this record, we wanted to keep it more raw and quick, so we only spent probably like 3 or 4 months working on it, and we wanted to portray emotions kind of first and foremost. And I think that carried over into the lyrical content as well. I finally felt vulnerable enough or comfortable enough with myself to start talking about my mental health issues, and it's the same with the other guys.
That's something we've been talking about a lot on the air here at WFPK. We devoted an entire day to mental health around here and just had our listeners call in and tell their stories, and we had artists come in. It does seem like we're finally to the point where people are opening up about that, especially, you know, I mean, people deal with various forms of it, you know, all around the world and in all facets of life. But, you know, in our world in music, of course, we do see it more publicly when we lose our friends and artists, you know, and hear about what they're going through. What has that journey been like for you to kind of talk about that? And have you sort of noticed the sea change as well?
Yeah, I think very originally it was just something that I didn't really realize was going on. I would have these, you know, like dark feelings on tour. I would have these dark moments, and I didn't really understand sort of what was going on because depression or anxiety weren't things that were really publicized very much. So you just think something is wrong with you. But then gradually, as I learned more about depression you know, with like the high-profile suicides, like, you know, Cornell or Bennington, it became very, very popular. You could read more on it. It was like, wow, I feel like I've been dealing with a lot of these things for a very long time. And I just thought, you know, something is wrong with me, but it's actually just, you know, a chemical imbalance in my brain that's causing this. Right. So, you know, it definitely helps put you at peace when you find out that you're not alone. But
have you found out ways to cope with that, to help out?
It's definitely a journey. I feel like it's a fresh realization, probably like as we were making this record. But I'm definitely taking steps to figure it out and trying to get the help I need, and the other guys are as well for, you know, whatever they're dealing with. But it's a scary thing, man. It's definitely a scary thing.
Putting that into song, was there any challenge to that? Because you're talking about kind of opening up about emotions for the first time in your music. Like, what was the challenge for that for you?
I wrote about my relationship for the first time. I've been with the same girl for a very long time, almost 6 years before the band started. And I'd never really written songs about our relationship, just being, you know, scared to be vulnerable on that level or sort of bring people into that world. But there just became a point in the past year when it was sort of unavoidable write about that stuff. I wanted to commit myself to being honest, more honest to the fan base. With every release, I feel like I should be more vulnerable and honest. So it's challenging, but it's definitely been rewarding. It's almost like a form of therapy to be like, okay, here you go.
Right.
You can have this now.
Yeah, that's what I love most about songs. I mean, you have some writers, and I'm going to maybe unfairly talk about the pop world a little bit, or various forms of the more mainstream acts, where it seems like they feel like they have to make it more broad or generic to connect with the masses, where I always personally feel like when an artist is talking about something very personal to them, I can connect to that more because I've probably been there in some form,
Yeah, exactly, man. I think people could smell when something's inauthentic or something's too vague. It doesn't mean anything. Every song we've ever written that has connected with people has been a song that's actually, meant something or come from a place of meaning. And it feels like, that we do have songs that are less about like an explicit, true thing that happened to us. And I feel like those songs typically don't resonate as hard.
What else can we look forward to on this record that we haven't covered so far?
It's wild, man. It's a wild ride. There's very loud parts, there's very quiet parts. I think it kind of covers all the bases. There's a couple songs we did live to tape, like band in a room kind of vibes. There's some songs that are like a drum machine and a guitar. It's kind of all over the map. So I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, it definitely does set you all up in a nice spot to move in just about any kind of direction you want at this point, and that's exciting. As a fan, that's exciting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm so excited to. We're bringing like a recording rig on the road, so we'll be writing the entire time we're out and working. So it should be pretty fun.
As if you
Never
didn't have
stop,
enough releases lined up already. Here comes more.
Yeah. Let's get 2 albums out for sure.
Keep them coming, man. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Congrats again on this record. Looking forward to hearing everything else that's in store too.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, my thanks to Jake from Hippo Campus. Again, the new record is called Bambi. It's one of my favorites right now. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening from, whether it's YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're getting your podcasts these days. You can give it a rating and leave a review as well, and I will be so grateful about that. After that, you can head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show every Monday through Thursday from noon to 3 Eastern, where you can also find some bonus episodes of this series. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.